Hello and welcome. Today we're checking out Away Team Lost Exodus. This is a sci-fi adventure game being developed by Underflow Studios. It's over here on itch.io. I'll put links below and you can check the thing out. It came out quite a while ago, but it's been updated multiple times throughout the, maybe even years. I think it came out originally like a year ago, maybe. But multiple updates in recent ones as well. And I thought we should certainly check this thing out because it looked pretty interesting. The idea here is we are on an interstellar spaceship. We are the AI of that ship. Our job is to, first off, select a crew, and then we're trying to find a new home for these people. We're like humanity's last hope or something. Earth is done for, whatever. And we're going to bounce from planet to planet and all searching the galaxy, trying to find a home for these people. Assigning them to different away missions, sending them on their tasks to try to find things. They come back, and we move on. That kind of thing. It's very sci-fi novel. A lot of reading in this as well. But anyway, let's check it out. So, we go to a new game. We got our crew to pick first. We have 6 folks that we can bring in here. Captain, Doctor, all that kind of stuff. And these are the ones that are in the game. I guess you can go on to, I don't know if it's a website. You can go find people that are in there and add your crew. You can also make your own. So let's make our own, shall we? I'm gonna be. Let's bring me. Nook is my name, and ooh, look at that guy with my. Yeah, that's the guy. That guy's fine. We can re-roll these if you want. I'm gonna say the physical might be a little lower on me. I'll try to be smart today. Social probably that probably works as well. Yeah, that's good. As far as my traits, let's be a. Problem with YouTube, I don't have any traits. Let's be a farmer. I'm not observant, that's for sure. Let's be a polite farmer. A polite farmer that is very lucky and violent. Reckless, certainly. Reckless. That's me. I'm a lucky, reckless, polite farmer. I will be a he. And there we go. Biography. He talks YouTube. He doesn't, Oh, I cleared it. He doesn't know how to play games. Okay, that's me. All right, I am now saved. Let's go back now. So we go to our crew here and make sure we put me in here. Who's captain? Oh, Nook is captain. Of course. Who else do we want? This guy's got some cool glasses. He's a soldier. He's a loner. He's stealthy and violent. Stealthy, violent, loner, soldier. We could use some guns. Brecken here. Counselor. A polite counselor. We got a scientist. Let's bring Corey in here for our science officer. And then Michael could be a doctor. A kleptomaniac doctor. Any more doctors in here? I think we're going to bring old Michael in. And we got 2 more. As a soldier, a politician. We don't want a politician, that's for sure. Athletic. Abstemious? I don't know what that means. Aslan's amused that a comedian would be selected for the crew. I'm amused about it too. Come on in, Aslan. And then we've got Eric. Proficient mechanic. Yeah, we need a good a loner, observant mechanic. We need an engineer. Okay. Medium difficulty is fine. Let's deploy. Acceleration cycle initiated. Wake inhibitors disabled. Mission parameters loaded. By the mid-2050s, Earth was all but destroyed, ravaged by war, climate change, famine. Unable to save the planet, scientists aided by artificial intelligence focused on perfecting intergalactic travel so humanity might live on. 2100, dozens of AI ships sailed into the void. The fate of their passengers unknown. Your ship, the smallest, fastest, finest, the last of these to leave Earth. You're the AI in charge of this ship, responsible not only for piloting and navigation, also selecting crew for away teams based on their traits and flaws, advising them on missions. By now, Earth is a dead planet. Your crew is very small, but they are the last known humans. Your choices will determine their fate. Move to the edge of the sector and activate the light jump to visit new systems. Search the sector, find new planets, more stations. Moons and stations, stock up on food and fuel. Do your best. Find a new home. Good luck. Okay, we got 1 point of interest in this sector. We got 6 crew, life support operational. We got food, we got fuel. Let's do it. Okay, there's the Argo. We can bounce around here. We're kind of sort of exploring right now. We don't know where anything is. There's an option in the menu to like turn on knowing where planets are, which does make sense, actually. Can I do that now, actually? Yeah, show planets. That makes sense. Surely we can see the planet. There it is up there. Let's go through this asteroid belt here. and go to Azimuth up there. We got food, fuel. We light jump when we get to the edge. But let's stop by. We got a planet here. Star class K. It's a moon. There is a little bit of oxygen. It's a decent temperature. If this location wasn't programmed into the ship's maps, it would not have been even worth slowing down for. Sensors detect no signs of life, no obvious fuel sources, not even any obvious carbon-based material for the food replicator. It's a dead world. The precise target, however, seems to be the large moon in orbit around the planet. No more alive, but slightly more interesting. Let's deploy a crew. Okay, who's going on this mission? It doesn't seem too terrible. Well, I'm going to go. He does not... How far? Okay. I'm going to go. I am leader, obviously. Obviously. Now, we don't have to bring everybody, but I think we probably should bring a medic, which is you. A kleptomaniac medic. And we've got probably an engineer. Where's my engineer at? Yeah, Pratt's. And then let's bring someone... there's no life down there. We don't need anybody tough. Do I know what your stats? I don't know your stats. Like how strong and all that you are. I know I'm weak. Anyway, that'll work. That'll work. Okay, crew clambers up into the top of the ship and prepares the shuttle for a lunar landing. Once the trajectory was plotted, magnetic coupling are released and the shuttle gently eases loose from the main body of the ship. In the process, the crew has grimly referred to as decapitation. Doesn't hurt you a bit. And anyway, everything responsible for you is currently much lower on the body of the ship. You don't need a head to survive. Okay. As you adjust speed and angle, you keep the ship in stable orbit. The shuttle closes in on the surface of the moon. As cameras and sensors come online, it becomes clear that this is definitely the right place. Or at least an interesting one. Giant lines many kilometers long are carved into the lunar surface, like the Nazca lines on Earth. But actually visible from space, the crew can make out at least 3 sets of straight crossed lines with large arc below them. Clearly, I should have brought my guns. Clearly, the lines are not natural. But what do they indicate? Why this little moon of all places? The first destination on these ship's maps? There's no logic behind it as far as you can tell. Perhaps the crew can figure it out. So we can go to the leftmost site, the center site, the right site. Let's go left. Shuttle veers to port and descends towards the curious mark on its left. The marking seems just slightly larger than the other two, although it's hard to tell without more precise instruments that you don't have time for. All the crew can tell, really, is that it's many kilometers long, which they already know. Surface near the center of the marking seems fairly flat and stable, but it's covered in several inches of powdery white dust that scatters in all directions as the shuttle lands. It seems safe enough out there. Visibility is lowered, but inside atmospheric suits, the crew will be breathing recycled air anyway. No need to wait. You tell them to spill outside and get accustomed to the lower than expected gravity. Check out the soil samples. Plenty of soil samples, soil to analyze, seeing as it's a giant cloud around the shuttle. A scientist. I didn't bring a scientist. In fact, it's so dense that visibility is restricted about 5 meters out. However, there's nothing special about the dust itself, really. Scans say it's silica-based, some abrasive, but it's not enough to immediately damage a ship or crew, as you can tell. That's about it. Eric Pritz says not going to get anywhere just walking in circles around the shuttle holding hands. There's clearly nothing here. We can split up. Each walk 1,000 paces, different directions, turn around, come right back, then report. Yeah, everyone split up. Good idea. Click, there we go. With food and fuel in limited supply, it definitely makes sense to try to cover as much ground as possible. Crew does rock, paper, scissors, chooses directions, splits up. After 1,000 paces, they turn around and head back to the shuttle, do a head count, compare notes. But it looks like nothing was discovered but more dust. They're rolling around in a pit of cornstarch. Where's Eric Pitts? Asked Nook. Indeed, they appear to be missing. They don't respond to any frequency, and despite waiting for over an hour, there's no sign of their return. Says Nook. I always had doubts about them. Always had to be a loner. Probably walked off a cliff somewhere, maybe on purpose. They shrugged. Nothing to be done for it by now. Have to move on. Lost his He's dead? He's dead? Loss is tragic. Mission must continue. Let's go to the center site, shall we? Let's stay around. Shuttle heads toward the center marking, but it seems like the most obvious place to look for whatever there is to be found here. X always marks the spot, after all. Shuttle surface seems fairly flat and stable, but it's covered mostly in several inches of powdery white dust, scatters in all directions. The shuttle lands. Fortunately, there's not too much of it. It seems that whatever made the markings cleared out. Things cleared out pretty well. Steps out of the shuttle. Visibility around them is pretty good for a fair distance. It's easy for them to see that the shuttle landed quite near the center of an X. Not far. Yeah, go to it. X marks the spot, and clearly this best space to look for clues is right in the middle. A brief jaunt to the center indicates nothing particularly interesting in the area. Though, if there ever was something there, it's long gone. Buried so far down it can't be detected. Right side it is. banks to the starboard, heading toward the strange X marked in that direction. Nothing remarkable is evident from the air. The shuttle comes in for a gentle landing dead center of the X, what turns out to be somewhat rocky and uneven terrain. A faint haze of dust hangs in the air, but the ground is apparently relatively clear of the fine soil evident elsewhere. Once on the outside the shuttle, there's not much to see. Options for the away team seem limited. Rock samples, I guess. Handheld scanners reveal nothing special. Rocks do contain traces of several rare earth elements. Takes a bit of work, but the crew collects some of the most dense rocks. Hopes that they may be able to extract some fissionable materials from the ship's reactor. Looks like there might be more interest further northwest of here. Yeah, let's go on foot. It sounds safe. Wander around for a while, but nothing of immediate interest appears. The path does seem to clear up a bit, although there are some strange readings. It's nothing that appears to be nothing certain. This is unknown terrain. A lot of things are bound to be strange. Let's go. Crew plods onward, grasping what seems to be the best lead available. If there's anything to be uncovered, it must be in this direction. Signs are too obvious. Humans were almost certainly here at some point, or at least something with hands, tools, and faces. 2 hours later, nothing of interest has yet been found. Atmospheric suits show a light increase in temperature for some unknown reason. Nothing to worry about yet. Keep going. Another hour of walking brings the crew closer to any other answers. Temperature readings on their suits are approaching dangerous levels. Perhaps the pervasive dust is clogging some crucial system? Won't be enough time to get back to the shuttle before the worst happens. Uh-oh. Suddenly, Nook shouts, "I see something! Hurry!" Crew rushes forward and incredibly finds what appears to be a small land vehicle. It's clearly incapable of movement, but it appears to be airtight, and readings indicate that the crew could survive inside without their suits sealed. There's enough room inside for 4 people, but even that would be a tight fit. There's only 2 of us. Everyone manages to pack inside the small 6-wheeled vehicle, although it's a rather tight fit in several ways that make humans uncomfortable, particularly among crew members who you've noticed have feeling toward one another. Over the next several hours, the crew confirms the cause of the overheating. Managed to remove the thick buildup of almost invisible dust on their suit filters, restoring full function to their atmospheric processors. Then, certain that things are in order, they clamber out and wisely walk back to the shuttle. Everyone crammed in so tight, things jostle all over the cabin, and someone accidentally knocks open a hidden compartment full of protein bars. And no one is hungry right now, and they get packed up for later. Considering all available data and what scant resources remain, it might be worth heading towards the unmarked Northwest Plateau. There may be nothing really visible there from the air, but if humans were here, and the surface was this inhospitable, then they very well could be something underground. Let's go. I think I can just leave here whenever I want, I think. Plateau rises up before the shuttle. Even from a distance, it's clear to the crew that there is something about the area that's unnatural. Not in a scary, spooky way, but in a sense that nature clearly did not make everything here. The sides of the plateau are a bit too steep and regular. Some hand had a part in shaping the terrain. Was it human? There are no obvious structures atop the plateau, but readings indicate that there are several hollow spaces rather near the surface. It's likely that there is more here than meets the eye. 2 decent landing areas, dead center or off to the north. Central looks more convenient, but northern edge looks a bit safer. Oh, I'm a good pilot. I got this. Central plateau seems the most obvious place to set the shuttle down. For a moment, all seems well, but once the engines have worn down, the ground shifts, and the shuttle begins to tilt to one side. Suddenly, the ground collapses, and the shuttle plunges about 20 meters into darkness. It was designed to handle small asteroid impacts. It's hardly fragile, but the angle at which it falls is steep. The shuttle's weight is completely focused on the rear left strut. Somehow, the strut holds. The shuttle remains intact. In the dim light, the crew can see tunnels leading off in multiple directions, but only the north tunnel is clear enough for passage. There is nothing to indicate what might lie at the end, but it's certain that there is nothing of interest right near the shuttle. Passage isn't very long, and the crew grows narrower as it goes, as if those digging it just grew tired or lazy, and they went and couldn't be bothered to hew out much stone like humans. Then, after a 10-minute walk, just as it's getting almost too narrow to squeeze through, the tunnel suddenly opens up. The crew turns up the brightness on their helmets, lights, revealing a relatively small chamber with stone carvings etched on all sides. In the center is a statue, clearly that of a man. This chamber and everything within definitely came from humans. The away team is definitely on the right path. Look at the statue. Depicts a curly-haired man, albeit of idealized version of one, some 4 meters tall, heavily muscled, and quite traditionally handsome by 21st century Western European standards. And his wrists are what appears to be metal cuffs, each bearing what appears to be a broken chain link. Pooled around his feet are long lengths of the same type of chain, and under his right foot some sort of large crushed bird. Bizarrely, the statue's face is missing a mouth. Perhaps the carvers didn't have time to finish, or couldn't be bothered. I'm sure that's what it was. Beneath the statue is written, I see a shade, a shape, 'tis he, arrayed. In the soft light, which spread, like radiance from the cloud-surrounded moon. This seems familiar, says Nook. Some kind of poem or something? They rack their brain for a moment. It's Prometheus. I don't know. It's Prometheus, specifically Prometheus Unbound. Poem by Percy Shelley. Just about to say that, says Nook. Fantastic, says Nook. But what does that tell us? Nothing? No one has any answers, but the crew agrees that someone is pushing their luck. Check out those wall carvings. The carvings depict what is clearly constellations of some sort, points of light in various sizes, some of them connected by lines, and definitely meant to indicate arrangements of stars. But the constellations are nothing more than nothing that anyone is familiar with. There is not enough information given to surmise what these stars viewed from Earth might have been. All right, come back to the ship. Record everything, get back to the shuttle, and leave the moon's surface. No further conclusions are realized on the way back. Once it's recoupled to the ship, it has its way back. The crew uploads the rest of the data in their system, and heads off to find food and prep for the next journey. Slowly. Since they have to reorient themselves, now that their frame of reference is 90 degrees off of gravity, provided by the engines, is down again. By the time they've stumbled down to the first ladder, they've solved the mystery. You inform them that they've settled in. Destination system identified. New course set. New nav computers updated. Yeah, give them details. Here, crew, let me tell you what you got. Large carving is an abstract depiction of a human face. Arc is clearly a smile. The statue bears a quote, but the quote, like the statue's face, is incomplete. Actual quote from Percy Shelley's poem, Prometheus Unbound, is as follows. I see a shade, a shape, 'tis he arrayed, in the soft light of his own smiles, which spread, like radiance from the cloud-surrounded moon. The missing words from the poem are from Act 2, Scene 1, line 121. Note the rest of the quote. A shade, a shape, like radiance from the cloud-surrounded moon. That is where the carvings come in. Each star a point with 3 lines. Cartesian coordinates, X, Y, Z. 2, 1, 121. These are our directions. A shape radiating out from the center of the cloud-surrounded moon. This moon. Pause for effect, yes. Clearly someone had a lot of time on their hands, says Nook. Or is just showing off how clever they are. But okay, fine. What about the big face carving? The phrase of his own smiles indicates we must look for a smile. And since neither the statue nor the quote contain one, we must look elsewhere. And therefore, the large smile carving provides us with the final number we need. That smile is also an arc, which can be measured in arc seconds. Another measure which relates to an arc is a parsec, which you may or may not know, depending on your particular realm of knowledge. It's how far a distant object needs to be to have a parallax of an arc second. It's also how fast a Millennium Falcon goes. Clearly, then. Yes, clearly, says Nook, voice dripping with sarcasm. Perhaps not so clearly. We are meant to translate the length of the arc in arc seconds to number of parsecs, which along with our XYZ coordinates given us not only direction, but the distance in the light years. Is this like Wesley Crusher? Is that who I am? There's some extra details involving time and other such trivia, but the crew is definitely getting bored. So you keep these to yourself so they can get ready for cryo. They don't really care where you're going, as they have all lost sense of where they were coming from. The ship passed Barnard's star within the first 1% of the total distance you've already come so far. I've already set a course. I will spare you the details, but it's heading towards what you maybe recognize as Andromeda. We will make the jump shortly. Fortunately, it will not take us nearly as long to reach as predecessor ships took. And we were supposed to figure this all out, asked Nook. Yeah, no. A human was meant to recognize the human touch in the message, the statue, the face, the carvings. And AI was meant to analyze the data based on those observations. This message was meant for us. This ship, or another like it, human and AI together, whoever left this message encoded message believed that only together we could have solved the problem. What you leave unsaid is that this was probably true for an AI, as it was known to humans aboard the predecessor ship. You, of course, are far more capable of interpreting and evaluating things like emotion and creativity, but there's no need to point that out to humans since it would only make them feel sad and uncomfortable. Case in point, see how well you predicted that emotional response. Pat yourself on the back, if you had one. Fuel plus 10. Food plus 10. Excellent. Nook is now leader. He was always leader. Well, he is now anyways. Michael over here is now a medic and engineer. Okay, let's leave. Okay, next, I suppose. What can we do with our crew? Anything new? Rank 1. Yep. I got a picture of a lunar in my pockets. A protein strands wrapper. I got a rock sample. Nice. What do you have? You guys got nothing, but you got things. You get the sketch of the statue. Nice. You level 1 medic. You level 1 engineer because our engineer died. Eric is dead. Sorry, Eric. Well, you may not be dead. You're just not with us anymore. Let's jump. So this is, by the way, not random, but it is sort of random. Like, I played around with this before, and I didn't get this mission. I went to a station first, so it does change things around. Crew to face on the surface of the dusty moon. Asimov led the crew to discover quotes from Prometheus Unbound, and we sent coordinates in. We're on jump 2. We still have 5 crew, food, fuel, one interesting point here. There's my ship. All the stuff we have about my ship and all the things we can see about that. Engine, structure, all that stuff. And, of course, the sector that we're in is what we just saw before. And we saw the crew already. Let's go check out this one real quick before we call this one. I'm not sure if there's anything else out there. I haven't done anything other than just go to the destination. But air pressure warnings alert you to a possible problem in the machine shop moments before it becomes apparent that both the Theseus Daemon and exterior drone controller are offline. Neither internal nor external cameras can see the breach, but you are able to detect gases venting from the rear of the ship, near the port. Actuator coupling. Let's fix it. Yeah. The crew is scattered across other areas of the ship. Only a few seconds have passed, but the crew, your drones, and the Theseus unit's initialization sequence takes time. At this moment, time is air. Go to the shuttles, seal all bulkheads, send the drones to investigate, reboot. Yeah, turn it off and back on again, obviously. Regardless of what caused the breach, every moment that passes increases the odds of another. Space is by nature low in density, but sooner or later, a micrometeoroid, or something even bigger, large enough to pierce the hole, is going to come along. After initiating reset of the Theseus' unit systems, you inform the crew of the situation and instruct them to move toward the shuttle, sealing bulkheads behind them as they go. Old Xavian barks orders, which earn them some disparaging looks, but increases the crew's evacuation speed. Thanks, buddy. Minutes pass. You monitor logs from the Theseus' unit as systems boot. Fewer logs are present than you expected. Eventually, the Theseus demon tells you that everything is online and functioning. Clearly, it is not. Resetting the Theseus unit again with diagnostic tools running reveals no new information. Since the hole has been breached, the most likely cause, without further information, seems to be some kind of hardware issue. Without access to external drones, physical assessments, and diagnostics aren't actions you can perform on your own. Weighing up variables and probabilities, you decide that sealing the breach should probably take priority, and access to the machine shop would likely be useful. Any significant hardware issues. Once aboard the shuttle, you bring them up to speed about the current situation. Hull's been compromised, with a breach of unknown dimensions located somewhere along the rear wall of the machine shop, you say. Cause of the breach is unknown. It appears that the machine shop is the only section of the ship that has depressurized. The amount of additional damage is unknown, but the Theseus unit, which would normally affect repairs, is not functional. Exterior drone control is offline. Any questions? No time for questions, says Nook. We gotta get out there and fix it. Hold your horses, I reply, the computer. The only way we're getting through this is if we plan ahead and know what we're doing. Can I go home now? Asks Aislinn. Aislinn. Get a hold of yourself. If the external drones and the Theseus unit are dead, it's probably a big deal, says Cora. You'll need us to fix this, won't you? Yes, I reply. I'll be able to guide you through sealing the breach and inspecting the Theseus unit. Beyond that, we'll need to work out what we're doing as we learn more. Zaven thinks for a moment and says, that all sounds pretty bad. What now? You will need to rely on your crew to help assess the problem further. Thankfully, EVA training was a requirement for all crew, so sending them outside is an option. The ship is in orbit around a small star, but far enough away that radiation won't pose a danger to the crew or interfere with communications. Suit up. Since your internal drones were unable to locate the breach, sending your crew outside seems the best option. External cameras have shown roughly where the breach is located, and you calculate that the safest path for the crew is along the hull as they prepare to exit the dorsal hatch. Before opening the hatch, you make sure that one of the shuttle's emergency breach repair kits is brought along. Who should carry that? No one has any experience except for me being a leader and you being something. Well, we have the... Oh, you are disabled. Cora is a bit hobbled by a crippling injury, But her aptitude in biology... Oh. Okay, gluttonous. Well, I'm not going to give it to the comedian. Not going to give it to the reckless guy. We're going to give it to Michael. Crew moves slowly along the outside of the ship. Although EVA isn't an intended part of normal crew activities, the hull has been fitted with handholds and rails. Instruct the crew to tether themselves to the rails as they pass from section to section. Was that star always so close? Asked Nook, pointing to the nearby star. You're pretty certain that Nook knows that it hasn't moved. So you don't answer. Come on, Nook. Get a hold of yourself. You add a visual representation of the breach to the crew's suit HUD. As the crew approaches the breach, you ask them to describe it to you while you examine what you can from the suit cameras. The hole is a puncture created by something outside the ship passing through the hole. From the shape and orientation of the hole, you can identify the object's speed, size, and trajectory. You calculate that there should be something approximately 20 millimeters across lodged in the bulkhead on the opposite side of the machine shop. Dispatch a drone to confirm this, or you return your attention to the crew. It'd be big enough to fit 3 fingers into if I wasn't wearing the suit, says Aislinn. Let them finish before bringing them up to speed. Object to cause a breach is still inside. Based on its trajectory, I can confirm that no critical systems were affected, but there is some minor damage to the redundant lighting and heating circuits. Secondary pressure regulators, secondary CO2 scrubbers. There's also a question of why the Theseus unit isn't running and why external drones are not responding to commands. Where should we start? Says Aislinn. Let's fix the breach first. Michael begins to unpack the breach repair kit. Includes a number of tools. Although the repair task could be completed by one person, it would be best to keep the entire crew busy. You decide who would be best to handle the actual breach repair first. This will involve mixing a binding agent. Binding agent. That's got to be the like mixing stuff up. Yeah, that's got to be old Michael. Michael's really the only guy who actually knows anything. You talk Michael through preparing the engines, the repair kits through various compounds while selecting crew member to perform the surface analysis of the region around the breach. Who's going to look at things, basically? Cora's observant. Give it to Cora. Cora takes the surface analyzer. Rest of the crew for supervisory roles. The surface analyzer emits a series of beeps indicating that the puncture is only structural. The only structural issue present. After leaving the repair compounds to settle for their indicated rest periods, you guide Michael through the process of loading them into various slots in the bonding agent dispenser. Aislinn insists on referring to it as the breach blaster. Oh, Aislinn, why'd I bring you? Michael carries the breach blaster over to the breach and places its nozzle onto the hole before pulling the trigger. By weaving the breach blaster back and forth across the hole's width, the bonding agent is able to cover the seal and gap quickly, fusing the surrounding hole as it hardens. Okay, let's inspect first. The Theseus unit roams across the hole. You're able to confirm its location at the other side of the ship with external cameras, but not able to see enough to assess any possible physical damage. Provide the crew with HUD markers. Okay, make your way there. Crew banters good naturally as they traverse the hole. Michael gasps as the crew draws close to the Theseus unit. Multiple people begin speaking at once via their suit cameras. You can see what appears to be a long shaft protruding out of the Theseus unit. Looks like there's something moving along the surface of the sphere, says Cora. Analyze as much of the suit cam data as you can and explain to everybody what you can determine. Looks like the scenario is that the object is not foreign, you say. The object appears to be a piece of the Theseus unit extruded into space by the ship's external drones. Didn't you say the external drones were offline? Explain that the Theseus unit is one of several critical systems that the drones will prioritize repair of over normal exploration. Since the Theseus unit wasn't actually being repaired, they were stuck in a loop. To test it, send an emergency power down signal to all drones. The surface of the object immediately changes slightly, and the drones swarming it stop moving. I believe I can repair the Theseus unit now that I understand the problem, you tell the crew. But I will need someone to disconnect it manually. It's gotta be Michael. Carefully approaches the unit. Tethers himself to the device. What's next? I guide him through the process. Is that it? Yes. Pauses for a moment, then flicks the indicated switch from 1 to 0. Right, I could have done that. When it's offline, you're able to bypass the repair priority subroutine and manually control repairs of the Theseus units. Fully repairing the Theseus unit will take a while, but I can handle that from here, you inform the crew, and provide them with HUD indicators to guide them back to the location of the breach. Also dispatch a standard fleet of drones to monitor and vaporize debris that might cause further hull damage. Okay, damaged circuits. Focus here is to interim repairs. CO2 scrubbers can be replaced from inside the ship, and since the primary scrubbers are functioning, we can ignore those for now and allow drones to deal with that once the ship is locked down. Isn't locked down. Use your drones to inspect the damage more closely. Whatever breached the hull also tore several holes in pipes leading into the pressure regulator, which in turn tore it free from its mount and several electrical connections. Okay, repair work. Your suit patches should be sufficient for sealing the pipes. The gas escaping from them is helium and does not pose threats. Regulator's power is I/O cables. Use a quick reflex connector, so they shouldn't have been damaged. Once reconnected and sealed, the regulator will need to be reaffixed to the hull. Breach repair kit contains several chemical adhesive strips that should do the job. Divide the crew between patching pipes and reconnecting cables. Xavian volunteers to supervise the work on the pipes. Use a drone to point out each tear and assess the crew's work. Nook volunteers to deal with the pressure regulator. Good job, Nook. Use a drone to pass cables to the crew as they go. Working together, the crew finishes quickly. Repressurize the pipes, monitor both internal and external gas leaks. Your readings indicate that there are remaining leaks inside the ship, but your drones will be able to deal with those. You also power up the pressure regulator and run a quick diagnostic to confirm that everything is working and powering it down again. Good work, everybody. Reattach the regulator. Michael retrieves 6 adhesive strips from the breach repair kit, and everyone else puts a bracket in place. Guided by visual indicators you place on their HUD, Michael places the strips. Strips are pressure activated and will bond when they receive about 500 newtons of force, you say, as you direct several drones to slightly bend the pipes and bring pressure regulator into contact with mounting bracket, giving a push strong enough to start the strips. Reaction. With repairs complete, the crew packs up the repair kit, does a quick visual. Okay. Get back to the shuttle. Drone analysis confirms your suspicion that the object protruding from the Theseus unit was circuitry extruded by drones. Repair logs would normally have indicated this were overwritten by the malfunctioning Theseus unit. Drones also found a large meteoroid inside the Theseus unit. Luckily, it was struck first, indirectly taking out external drone fleet at the same time and leaving the ship vulnerable to a breach caused by other meteoroid. Meanwhile, the drones were using fabrication tools to replicate a portion of the Theseus unit's circuits over and over, thanks to the repair history that the damaged Theseus unit was overriding. By the time you finish writing a separate log, storage mechanism, and service responsible for handling reads and writes, the Theseus unit is operational again. After you reconnect it to the rest of the ship's system, the Theseus daemon happily takes over and begins a complete surface assessment of the hull. We're here, says Nook, as the crew approaches the shuttle. You open the dorsal hatch, the crew's inside, repressurizing. Once everybody's off the shuttle, you bring the large meteoroid aboard. It's comprised primarily of organic matter and could be converted into a small amount of fuel or food. We will take a bit of fuel. We'll do evenly. Emergency over, crew settled. You plot a course to your next destination. Okay. Nobody's dead. We made it. We didn't even make it to the planet. We need to call it a day. Summary: water everywhere. Drinkable? Probably not. The surface of the planet will be more than 90% covered in water. Too saline for safe drinking. It's also just one of the many signs that there's life here of some sort. Radio signal from the somewhere below the waves, alas, indecipherable, seems to indicate that something intelligent was here at one point. But there are no hails, no signs of technology, nothing but questions. Can only be answered by deploying the crew. Okay, we need to call it a day here, though. So this is Away Team Lost Exodus. I'll put links below, and you can check it out if you are into this kind of a thing. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.